Now, this came to us from noted NFL insider Kevin Hart, the comedian on one of his, I guess everyone's got a podcast. He probably does too. Even I have a podcast. So Kevin Hart had Kittle on the podcast, and Kittle moaned, there's a huge physical toll. And 17 games is a lot, blah, 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 blah. A lot of games, one bye. He said it doesn't matter when it was. He says the physical toll, you feel it week in and week out. Close quote. So let us discuss the question. The 49ers star tight end George Kittle, an advocate to have 2 bye weeks. Thumbs up or thumbs down on this? So I'm going to go thumbs up. I'm Benny Brightside in this. I'm going 2 thumbs up. I've got Magic 8 Ball, Treasure Map, and Vampire. And we will connect all of these things together. We're going to play Connect 3 is what we're going to play. So first of all, George Kittle is going to get his wish. The issue is, will he be playing long enough to actually cash the wish in? And that's what it comes down to. It depends on how long he's planning on playing in the NFL. He's been around for a few years. The NFL career is not that long. It's not going to happen overnight, although we wish it would, because everything we do happens overnight. But we think sooner than later. And just to verify that we're not out of sorts, we're going to bring in here the Magic 8 Ball, the fairest of them all. Oh, Magic 8 Ball, is the second bye week going to happen in pro football? And the Magic 8 Ball says, signs point to yes. This decree will be honored. Okay, well, if the Magic 8 Ball says it, then it's going to happen. Now, secondly, what are the chances the NFL updates the schedule blueprint? The NFL's got this idea that they have mapped out in their head. What's the idea? They modify the schedule blueprint. So, as always, this one comes down to money. Now, it is my belief that the owners know they are sitting on another oil jackpot. The next time they want to squeeze some juice out of the orange, what are they going to do? When they want more of that TV money, they got to give more inventory. And so what they're going to do is they're going to pull out the treasure map, got that treasure map, and they got it in their back pocket. They're going to take that out, and it marks the location of the buried oil. And where's that oil reserve? Where's it at right there? Going back 50 years, literally and figuratively 50 years. A whole different generation of NFL owners and NFL players. The NFL at that time wanted to play 18 games. What is my source on that? Well, that would be Fred Dreyer, friend of the show. Fred Dreyer, who played in the NFL. We've had Fred on the show a few times over the years. We got to get him on again at some point. And Fred said when he was playing for the Rams, way back 50 years ago, 1970s, then Commissioner Pete Rozelle wanted 18 games. Now, the league at the time was playing 14 games. They weren't even playing 16 games. They added 2 more games in 1978. They went to the 16-game model, and so it took them over 40 years to get from where they were to where they are now at 17 games. The smart money says, though, that it's not going to take them another 40 years to go to 18 games, that this thing's going to happen much faster than that, like within 10 years. And I'd bet the under on that we'll get to 18 games. Taking an educated guess, the way this will work, the set's up this way. You got 2 exhibition games. You'll then have an 18-game regular season sprinkled with 2 weeks of vacation, paid vacation. So the way that works out, using my computer-like brain, you have 22 weeks plus 4 weeks for the playoffs. So the 18 games plus the 2, right? You do the math on that, and then you put it all together, and you can come up when you add the 2 bye weeks in there. So that's the key, right? So 18 games plus 2 exhibition games plus a couple of bye weeks tossed in. So you got to elongate the schedule. And if you elongate it, add in the 4 weeks of the playoffs, there is a mathematical formula. It's advanced algebra that gets you to 26 weeks. So how many weeks are there in the year? All right. Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. 26 is would be essentially half the calendar year where you would have NFL product, whether it's exhibition game, playoff game, or regular season game, if they can stretch it out. And that's, of course, they can do it. They have to get the players to say, okay, we'll give you our blessing. All right, final thought. So the NFL tried a couple of bye weeks a generation ago, way back in the early 90s. I wasn't even alive, unless I was. So it was not well received. And the people that didn't like it were not only the television people, but believe it or not, the coaches and the players complained. Wrap that around your mind. Believe it or not, there were people that coached and played in the NFL in the early 90s that thought it messed up their rhythm during the season. Hand to God. All right? I'm not kidding. The guys that complain. Now, theoretically speaking, how will things be different this time around if you add the second bye? So it's kind of simple here. It's very straightforward. There will be a crowd that says, well, the NFL is in danger of spreading the butter too thin. And I respond to that by saying, police! Football consumers are as thirsty as a vampire in a blood bank. Okay, you want the game, you want as much as you can, and depending on which side of the aisle you're on, though, this generation of ball players is more in tune with their bodies. Or, if you're a curmudgeon, you'd say these guys are just soft. In the good old days, players were crash test dummies. They didn't want 2 weeks off during the season. They believed in grit and willpower. Rub some dirt on it. Take an ibuprofen, pharmacy grade, and get back out there. Now, these guys are more about, today it's more about, you got to pace yourself, have a nice fruit smoothie, do some meditation, have a little yoga on the side, that kind of thing. Now, as for TV, let's go back to television. The NFL at that time in the early 90s, they had 28 teams in 1993. It is a whole new frontier. It's a whole different world now. For example, back then, there was a team called the Houston Oilers that existed. Love me blue. There was a team in San Diego called the Chargers. They were around in 1993. The NFC East included the Phoenix Cardinals. They just moved a few years earlier from St. Louis. They were not called Arizona then. They were called the Phoenix Cardinals. The Seattle Seahawks were in the AFC West the last time the NFL attempted the 2 byes. And teams like the Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jags, the Houston Texans, the Baltimore Ravens were not even a twinkle in the NFL eyes. Now, some would say the Ravens were because they were the old Cleveland Browns, but I don't consider them. They're a standalone franchise there, although there was that gap where you had a little break there. But that's the point. It's a much different landscape now. There's more teams. You've got 4 more teams, so 2 more games a week. So, again, it's all about how you do the arithmetic on the schedule to spread everything out and to make it work. It's all about making the numbers work, as it always is about making the numbers work.